welcome to my YouTube channel. This is going to be our first video on our first week on programming with C++ series. And today we're going to delve into the introduction of C++, why and what's the name we should learn it, the importance of it, the difference between C and C++, then also learn a bit of object oriented, the concepts of object oriented in C++, and the standard libraries. So let's start. C++. So C++ is a programming language. First of all, you might ask, what's a programming language? Programming language is just it's a language that, or it's just an interface or a language that helps and what's the name that translates or helps the when humans interact with the machine, right? It's just an interface between the human language and the machine language. That's programming language, and we have types of programming language. We have the Python, we have Java, we have C++, we have C sharp, we have others here. By in this we're going to talk about C++, right? Then before we delve into C++, is also a program. It's also a programming language. That C++ is more, let's say, complicated, but also more advanced as compared to the others like the Java and the other ones. C++ was created by Bjorn Structured in 1979. He was the one who introduced C++. It was the name C++, but formerly it was known as C with classes. So C with classes is just C++ is just an advanced version of the C with classes. That's the difference between the two. C with classes is a lower version. C, as the time goes on, the demand in machine learning becomes higher, so they had to make it more advanced, change the name. They also had to change the name to C instead of making it C with classes. They had to make it was C with C++, right? So the importance of C++. Why is it important to learn C++? One, C++ is a compiler language. That means it is going it's it is used to translate high level languages, the human language, to machine languages. A compiler language, you need a compiler in order to use C++, and it's also a universal language. It can be used to create universal applications, games. Can be used to create games, websites, and others. And it's also very close to machine learning, very very close to machine learning. Then we have the object oriented programming. The object oriented programming, there identify components called objects. Yeah, in all this, we're going to talk about it in our next lesson. We're going to talk about it more as the series continues. All this. Let's first talk about the key concept of object oriented oriented programming. First, we have the data abstraction. That one is a key concept of object oriented programming. That you know it's used to simplify complex code, the complexity of a code. It just used to simplify code by creating classes. The class we're going to talk more about classes as the series continues. I think it's been week 6 or 7. We'll talk more about the classes. It's just used to simplify code in code by creating classes, right? And we have the data encapsulation. The data encapsulation is used to hide internal or the complex details or in the process of the code, and just going to display the result. So you just hide the complexity of the code and displays only the result. And the inheritance, right? The inheritance is just reusing what's the name um using the features from other classes. That's the inheritance. And we have the polymorphism. That one is just wasn't executing wasn't the code in many different ways. You see a code, let's say they've given you an assignment, let's say to write a code to display additions. So maybe 1 plus 1. The way I might write my code to display this 1 plus 1 is equal to 2 is it going to be different from the way mine might be short, someone's might be long. But what matters is that it's going to display the same code, the instruction for 1 plus 1. So now let's delve into the real programming. So in order to start programming, you need to know some applications. We have applications used to what's the name, to program. We have applications that where we can use applications like the VS Code, which is the Visual Studio Code to perform C++ programs. The VS Studio Code is more universal. We can also use code blocks. We have other codes like have other codes. So we have other codes, but in this we're going to use code blocks, which is we're going to use code blocks. So in using code blocks, first you can just go to the Microsoft Store, then install code blocks from there, or Google and just type code blocks. You can just download it from there. It's very easy to install. So when you install the thing, doing the setup and everything, this is the display, right? So first, in order to start the program, you're supposed to first create a project. And in creating a project, it's going to be a whole application. This is how to create project. Then we are going to deal with C++. So it's going to be C++. Then it will be next. Then you're going to give it a name. Let me give it a name like week 1. Okay. So I've created the code. So it's going to come like this is going to be the interface after you are done creating the project. So you're going to just come here to the sources, then main.cpp. Yes, so now you are now officially in the C++ code. So first, this is basically like as a beginner in C++, like the basic things you should know. The int what is the name? Int hash include IO stream, then using namespace std, int main, the cout, then hello world, and end line return 0. These are just the basic things you should know. These are the basic lines of code you should know in C++. That's the first what's the name, basic thing you should learn when starting with C++. This is it. Yeah, you don't start a C++ code. This is just a default code done by code blocks. This is just a default code. So the hash include IOStream. It's a header file, right? That's you can, or you can also say it's a mic this you can also say it's a preprocessor. That's what's going to help you use the what's the name, the cout. That's what's going to help you use the cout. You can see the header file too. Then the um using name space std. Using namespace std is just going to it allows you to use um standard was the library functions like the cin. I also going to talk about the cout. So the difference between the cin and the cout is used to output a result. The cin is used to take use what's the a user's input. It's just used to take in input, but the is used to output a result. So we'll talk about both the cin and the cout shortly. Before that, let's talk about the int main. The int main is just a function. It's a function inside the C flat flat. You know how to start. So int main is just going to help you start the code. For now, that's what you need to know. The int main is going to help you start the code. Yeah, so let's see the cout. So this cout like this is cout, then hello world. So this means if I run this code, it should output what? Hello world for me. If I run this code, I should get to output hello world for me. So let me find this. So if you want to run a code in the code blocks, it's this button, just this button here. Then it's going to come. Let me give it a moment, it's going to come right now. Hello world, see, has run what hello world for you. So someone might ask why the use of this end line here. Well, I'll explain the CS which is useful to run hello world. Why is the end line important? So the end line is important because it's, let's say an example, I want to run two I want to run two statements, right? Then so let's say I want to run another statement. So it's going to be see out that then quotation. If you want to run the code, this is what you're supposed to do. So let's say I do. Yes, so if I do it this way, so let's say I'm moving the end line from it, right? Move the end line and show you what's going to happen. Okay, sorry. Let's try. Got an error. Sorry, there's a mistake with this. It's going to be like this. the let's give it a moment. It's going to come right now. She, if without the end line, so the end line just used to tell, is just tell the computer that I'm done with this hello world, I'm done printing out the hello world. I want to move to the next line to print the next in was in instruction. So the end line just to send this one to the next the next line. That's the use of the end line. Step time. So I want to go to the next line, the code. Yeah. Then and Palmer also asked the C in what the C in was talking about. So I'm going to give you an example. In order to use a C in, I'm going to create. I need to create a variable. In C plus plus, we're going to talk more about variables in the next lesson, which is week 2. But let me just brief you about what variables are. So variables in order to declare a variable, you need to one have the data type. A data type is just it's a code that tells the computer what type of data it's working with. So all these ones are data. All these ones, this ado, the hello world ones are data. So the data type is what is tells the computer that I'm working with this type of data, whether I'm working with numbers, I'm working with letters, I'm working with symbols, whatever I'm working with. Yeah, that's the data type. So if I want to declare a variable, I need to type the data type. So data types, some data types you can use are int, float, mm, string, character. The int is just for numbers, the flute is for decimals. The character is for what's the name, letters and symbols. The string is for words. So let's come to give an example. So let's say int, then let's say um add. So int add. Then so this is how to declare a variable. So if I want to initialize a variable, I'm going to add equal to, I'm going to add a number. That's initialization of a variable. Then this declaration of a variable. So let's say I want to initialize a variable. So I've initialized the variable add. So I want the user to enter a number or to initialize the variable itself by adding a number to it. So I'm going to that's when the cout comes in. So this one is going to accept user input. That's the use of the cin. It's used to accept user input. What's the use of the cin? The cin is just used to accept user input. So it's going to accept the user input of add. So if I want to see in, going to be see in then the number. So add then and 9. Now let's run this code and see what we want to happen. There's an error with the code. What? An error with the code. Okay. So this is an example of let's see. You can use some time to come. So yes, so this I tell him to enter the number, right? So I can say that's the use of the scene. So I use accept user input. So this is the user input I enter 63. It's 46. That's just basically what that is basically the introduction of C++. As we delve more, we're going to know about the what is it? I want to know more about C++, how it can be used and others. So this is just basically a code in C++, a written code in C++. Note, as if C++ needs a compiler in order to function. The compiler just used to translate um the high level language is the human language into machine language for the machine to understand and interpret it to bring an output. That is basically it. The hash include IOStream is just a header file or a preprocessor. They're using int using namespace std is just going to help you print out, they use the cout instead of, if the std is not here, anytime I want to see it, always have to put std here. I have to put the std before the cout. That's the difference. That's why the std is important. So the std is just helping you reduce the amount of time you're going to waste on it. The int main is just a function. That's basically it. Then return zero. That's to end the program. This is basically it on the first week of modern program with C++. I'll meet you on the second week, which is tomorrow. We'll continue. We'll dive more into it. Thank you very much.